Hello, my name is Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we go back to the 41st millennium to find out the best way to pick an army, be it because you're just getting into the hobby or you're looking to expand your suite of armies. We'll cover some background fluff and playstyle for each and centre the discussion around the start collecting sets Games Workshop offer. Today's video will go through your options for the quote unquote good guys, the Space Marines. No discussion about Space Marines can start without the good old-fashioned vanilla variety. What makes these two boxes special is that they can be used to make any number of Space Marine chapters. Yes, they might be missing some of the unique heraldry that you'll find in the bespoke Space Marine sets, but quite frankly, it's the colour scheme that tells the story, and for that reason, you can easily use these not just as Ultramarines, the straight A students of the Space Marines advertised on the box, but as many others. So let's give you a primer and an idea of what you'll be getting with each. As I've already inferred, the Ultramarines get a bit of a bad rap by veteran players because they're the poster boys of Games Workshop's business plan. But there's a reason for that. They represent everything that makes Space Marines powerful on the battlefield. Being equally strong in ranged combat as they are up close and personal, Space Marines are the surgical knife of the Imperium. Boasting a ridiculously strong native power per unit, the Ultramarines are the perfect example of the Space Marine ethos. The Dark Angels have a long and storied history, immensely pleased at the fact they were the first named of the 20 original Space Marine legions. However, they have also had a dark secret since the Horus Heresy. Whilst the Legion remained a loyalist faction, some of their brothers unfortunately did fall to the lure of chaos, leaving them with a driving need to prove their loyalty and make up for the sins of their fallen brothers. In terms of playstyle, they don't really deviate from that template laid out by the Ultramarines. The Imperial Fists are unusual in that they have no fixed homeworld. They were once the personal escort of the Emperor of Mankind, before he became interred on the Golden Throne. Intensely proud of this historical responsibility, they remain a crucial cog in the wheel of the Adeptus Astartes. In terms of thematic playstyle, they are masters of defense, capable of holding off hordes of enemies in attack. What this means on the table is that they prefer to set up shop on an objective or point of interest and use their long-range firepower to get the job done. The Iron Hands are another relatively independent chapter. They believe that although they are living and breathing genetically enhanced post-humans, that flesh is ultimately a vulnerability to their superiority. Cold-hearted and brutal, they're remorseless in battle, which reflects an army on the battlefield that are extremely durable and have a predilection towards the use of both vehicles, the more armoured and loaded out the better, and heavy weaponry, which the Imperium have ample at their disposal. The Raven Guard, as their name would suggest, specialise in stealth and lightning quick attacks, yet they spilt as much blood as any loyalist faction during the heresy. Mechanically speaking, they're all about fast attack units, with their favoured method the use of jump packs. They'll often opt for a covert approach to dismissing their foe, and what that means in actual terms is that they're highly capable of precision strikes against enemy characters, and have multiple means at their disposal to reposition and strike from different angles. The Salamanders are the chapter that have seemingly retained the most of their humanity, from an emotional perspective anyway. Whereas the bulk of the Imperium is quite callous towards their subjects, the Salamanders are heavily invested in ensuring that the local populace under their control be protected at all costs. They even go so far as to retain kinship with their families on their homeworld of Nocturne. Like most of their brethren, they are a good all-round army, but they mostly favour short to medium range weaponry such as flamers and melter guns. Representing the final loyalists of the original 20 legions, the White Scars favour speed over brute force. Their homeworld has bred a nomadic and tribal lifestyle, adopting a somewhat Eastern philosophy, there's a great deal more artistic depth to them than some of their battle brothers. What this means when rolling dice is that they are masters of hit and run tactics. Their iconic assault bike raids, getting in and out whilst doing the maximum amount of damage, is emblematic of their overall playstyle. Our last Space Marine chapter that we're featuring here that doesn't have its own start collecting box is the Black Templars, a successor chapter to the Imperial Fists, and one that plays by its own rules as it does not follow the Codex Astartes, their general principles laid out for all Space Marine organisations. They like nothing more than to be smack bang in the middle of battle. Often frustrated by inaction, they want to get into close combat as soon as possible, softening up their opponents on the way. So now you've got a flavour of your options, let's get back to the actual product where you have two options. The first is the oldest of the two, and that's important to note because it features models from a time prior to the big push on Primaris models that came with 8th edition. However, with upcoming changes to the game, their strengths on the battlefield and the points cost to bring them will become closer aligned than they were previously. And when we look at these start collecting boxes throughout this series of videos, we're going to be giving them marks in terms of value for power, in other words how much power or points you're getting for your buck in an actual game, and we're also going to mark for value in terms of model count and variety, in order to give a view of how someone more interested in painting would look at the box. And we'll also be given an overall value for money mark, in other words how much would this have cost me separately. So what you're getting in this first box is 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 elite choice. It's fairly well rounded on paper, but this gets a B for army builders, with the dreadnought and the captain giving you a sizable chunk of that. A B as well for painters, as you're getting a decent amount of models. And finally a C for value for money. Your second choice, the Vanguard Space Marines, give you 1 HQ, 1 troop, 1 elite and 1 fast attack choice, so even more well rounded. This box gets a solid B for army builders, with the infiltrators propping that mark up. A B for painters as there's a solid amount of variety on offer, but a very good A for value for money overall. Think we're done with Space Marines? Well, think again, because 2 more first founding legions have their own start collecting sets. First we have the Space Wolves, who also have 2 boxes to choose from, and following the Vanilla Marines pre and post Primaris mould. This lot are best described as Space Vikings, steadfastly loyal to the Imperium, but they very much like to do things their own way. Hailing from the frozen death world of Fenris, they share a unique bond with the native wolves, exemplified by their almost feral nature. In terms of playstyle, there is certainly the love of hand-to-hand combat in the chapter's heart, but they are equally competent at range as well. The first box gives you 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 fast attack choice, and so gets a B for power and points due to a decent all-round set of choices, an A for painters primarily because this is a cheaper box, and a B again for overall value for money. The second Primaris box then gives you 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 elite choice, and warrants a particularly average C for points on the table, an improved B for volume and variety of models, and finally a B for overall value for money. In other words, a step down from the pre-Primaris box. 2 more Astartes are on this list, and first up are the Blood Angels, who as the name suggests, like the taste of the red stuff. As bloodthirsty Marines go, they carry the burden of flaws in their gene seed that manifests itself in the red thirst, and ultimately the black rage, unleashing an all-consuming savagery where once stood a disciplined warrior. What that means in terms of playstyle is an army that literally cannot wait to get down and dirty in hand-to-hand combat, using their favoured jump pack assaults to get up close and personal. And their start collecting box contains 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 heavy support choice, which warrants a promising B for army builders. But then things turn sour with a D for painters, and overall value for money gets a D as well. This is just overpriced compared to most of the other boxes. Which leaves us with DEATHWATCH, a unique chapter that comprises of only the best veteran Space Marines, tasked with carrying out the word of the Imperial Inquisition in dealing with all Xenos threats within the known galaxy. Drafting Marines from each of the other chapters to carry out this important task, they're an extremely specialised group of Marines, and the net result looks like an amalgam of all the chapters we talked about so far. You'll be bringing a smaller model count to the table, but one that does the job as good as you would expect from Space Marines. In the box you get 1 HQ, 2 smaller troop choices and an elite choice, representing value that's all over the place, with a very good A for army builders, primarily because they're so elite, but then a C for painters because there's just not enough variety, but a solid B for overall value for money. One quick mention in passing as well for the Grey Knights, a mysterious and secretive Space Marine chapter specifically tasked with combating the demonic entities that inhabit the warp. Implanted with the gene seed of the Emperor and virtually unknown to the universe at large, with their existence kept secret at all costs. They're similarly elite and have only a handful of bespoke models for you to choose from, although they can also take the majority of generic Space Marine models as well. Their playstyle is fairly well rounded, but with innate psychic and anti-psyker abilities on top, with some buffs when combating demons. So there you have it, your plethora of choice when it comes to picking a Space Marine army. We hope you found this helpful in pointing you in the right direction. Look out for the remainder of this series, where we'll be covering the rest of the Imperium, all of the Mirror Chaos forces and the Xenos races. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.